Just do what you're going to say you're going to do. That's the most valuable commodity, is integrity. Don't make promises you can't keep. It's okay to say no. I can't do that. There are only so many hours in the week. I will do my best. But if you want me to succeed, I can deliver it by then and guarantee it, and it will be an amazing piece of work. But if you want it here, I can't do that. And people are frightened to say that because they're always worried that there's someone in the background that says, "Oh, I'll do it, and I'll do it cheaper, and I'll do it for nothing."
Hi everyone, welcome to another series of Leaders Hum. I'm your host Aishwarya Jain. Today,
peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM, that's specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and channel that receives more than 400,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month.
We've got a very special guest. He is Paul Crick. Paul Crick is the founder and principal partner of the Elevate Partnership Limited that helps companies and leaders adapt with sure-footedness to do more than just survive. Paul has been a management consultant, coach, educator, facilitator, and trainer for over 20 years, working across the world with private, public, and voluntary organizations for PricewaterhouseCoopers, Capgemini, and IBM. He co-leads IBM's global coaching community of practice of 2,900 coaches in a former life across 80 countries and serves as an executive coach in IBM's professional coaching service. He has also taught and coached leaders individually and in groups across 20 countries, up to and including C-level executives. Welcome to the show, Paul. It's great to have you here.
It's great to be here, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Sure. So Paul, let's rewind a little bit, go back and, if you could tell us a little bit about your life and how is it that you've come to do great work at the Elevate Partnership, and what is it all about?
So the Elevate Partnership is a consultancy that develops leaders and then helps them to lead. So we develop the individual, and then we develop the individual within a group. And help teams to perform to their optimum capability to achieve outcomes and goals. That's what that's about. I mean, I'll give you the short story. I was a consultant, and I'd worked all my life to become a consultant because it was this big thing, and it was a big deal, and I loved the work. But I remember sitting on the end of a bed in a hotel. Because as a consultant you tend to travel a lot, and I looked at the wall and I thought, is this it? Is this it for the rest of my life? And something wasn't quite right, and I couldn't figure out why. Because if you looked, I wore a nice suit and a shirt and a tie. I worked with some of the biggest companies in the world. I turned left on every plane that I got onto. I stayed in some fabulous hotels and traveled to some great places. So in theory, everything should have been all right, but it clearly wasn't. And that evening, I read in the London Evening Standard, the evening newspaper in London, I saw an advert for an event, and it said, "Get the life you deserve, free 2-hour seminar." And I thought, that sounds like me. I need to sort whatever this is out. And I went to the seminar, and I learned 2 very valuable lessons. I learned, first of all, that there's no such thing as a free seminar. And then I also learned about a thing called neuro-linguistic programming, which is a form of practical psychology. And I fell in love with it. I liked what it said, I liked how it worked, and more importantly, I liked the results that it got. And consequently, I spent time then training all the way through. So you become a practitioner, a master practitioner, a trainer. And by the time I came to a trainer, I decided that I wanted to start my own business. I wanted to help other people move beyond the limits of what they thought they could achieve. I wanted them to be able to move past things that had happened in their past that had were holding them back now. And I did that for a while, and I set up my coaching business on the side of my corporate job. So that was 14 years ago. And as I did more and more NLP, I became dissatisfied that there were certain situations and certain clients that it didn't seem to, something wasn't working. I later found out that that something was me, not the NLP. And consequently, I needed some more training. So I went and trained in energy psychology, which was how does the body play a role in how we behave and how we think? How does that, how do we show ourselves? How do we practice sitting, standing, walking, talking, being in meetings? And essentially, it was a journey then to do lots of different certifications to learn about different aspects. So learning about neuroscience, learning about how energy works within us as a body. And then I ended up being made redundant from my corporate life. And I'd always wanted to be a professional musician. And I was always into rock and roll. And I always secretly wanted to be the fifth member of Led Zeppelin. Only they didn't know that, and it was never going to happen. So I decided to be a professional musician for a year, and I had lots of fun. I did some really cool things, playing with different people, playing in different venues, doing different musical things, but I didn't earn any money. And consequently, I needed to go back and get a corporate job so that I could pay for my house and my food and keep my wife comfortable and keep all that going. So I went to work for IBM, and I learned to find my way around IBM because it's a massive organization. 300,000 employees, 120 countries, 100 billion in revenue. I mean, those numbers are just really strange. And I got the opportunity to teach what are called soft skills courses. So I did a lot of leadership development work. And I qualified as a coach and a coach supervisor. And then through a series of events, particularly leading up to last year, I got an opportunity to take voluntary redundancy. So the thing that I'd had as a side gig, I decided to take full time. I'd qualified and done other certifications in leadership development. So I've done leadership circle work for individuals, leadership circle work for teams and groups. And I'm also certified to use a digital environment called ProReal, which allows coaching in a digital world. And that's how the Elevate Partnership was born. It was really, how do I take all these lessons and all my experience, and how do I package it up in such a way that I can really add value to organizations and help them get through some of the challenges that through my 20 years, I've either worked with clients that have faced similar challenges, or I've had to overcome challenges myself to develop and grow as an individual. So that's really how it was born.
Well, Paul, I think you've had an adventurous, journey.
Yes.
And I'm sure you would have done, super well, even as the fifth band member of Led Zepp. But hey, I don't think this would have happened if, you probably would have done that. So I'm glad we're here talking. I think things turned out the way that it did.
Yes.
So, you talk a lot about, in one of your TED Talks, you focus on, that everyone must focus on accomplishment rather than achievement. And, while that may be a simple statement, it really holds a lot of depth. So I really want to understand what you mean by that, and if you could also help our audience, understand what really is the difference.
Sure. It was an idea I read about in a book that really struck home. And the way I illustrate it is by giving examples. So if you train to compete as an athlete in the Olympics and you win a gold medal, that's an amazing achievement. So I don't want to say that achievement doesn't mean anything. They are incredible on their own. If you decide to climb Mount Everest and go up a different way that's never been done before, and you do it without oxygen, that's a phenomenal achievement. It takes discipline, it takes guts, it takes sacrifice, it takes effort, it takes energy. It's not comfortable. It's an achievement, an amazing achievement. If you decided to row the Atlantic Ocean by yourself, unsupported, Again, another, incredibly dangerous, an amazing achievement, but it's not an accomplishment. And the difference is this: an achievement becomes an accomplishment when you take what you did, that thing, that gold medal, that story of rowing the Atlantic or climbing it, and you help someone see that they can do something similar themselves. It's when you put that achievement in the service of others to help them switch a light on inside, to discover that light, or even rediscover the light that they had as a child, to say, I can be more. My mentor, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, talks about this. He says, whenever people are helped, it's because someone said that they could be more. And this is the whole idea. When we grow up, we're often told we can't be more. Who are we supposed to be? Who do we think we are that we think we can do this or that or whatever the other is? Who are you? And the answer is, you are you. Everyone leads. Everyone's capable of leading, and everyone follows. It's just a dance. So maybe we worked in the same team, you and I. And there might be times when I lead, and there will be times when you lead. And when you lead, I follow you. And when I lead, you follow me. It's a dance, and it's a dance of interdependence. And when we learn to do that, we will be better leaders. Because in order to do that, we have to say, look, I'm not great at this. I'm not good at this, but you are. Can you help me? And sometimes that asking for help can be a really big deal. If you're very senior in an organization, to kind of ask for that help can be challenging. Will I be seen as weak? What if I don't know the answer? Well, the honest truth is nobody knows the answers, particularly today. Can you forecast what your sales are going to be in 6 months' time? I don't think so. You might have a rough idea, but things are moving so fast, and we're in a totally different place now. This hybrid world of work where some people are working at home, so people are going to be working back in the office. People having the opportunity to pause and say, well, what's really important in my life? Where am I going to focus? We only get one life, and it's very, very short in reality. Prior to the pandemic, was I doing all the things in my life I wanted to do? How do I rebalance that? So this idea of accomplishment is about how do I help, and how does everyone? Because the answer is we all need to help each other. There's an old saying, isn't there? It takes a village to raise a child, and it's true. We need to get back to that, in my humble opinion. We need to get to a place where we are saying, what is brilliant? What turns your light on? What are you here to do? And how can I, as a leader, give you that opportunity to go and be brilliant? Because I know you are brilliant. You might not think you are, or maybe you know you are, but you just haven't got the opportunity. And that's what the difference between achievement and accomplishment. And accomplishment is when I take my achievements and I put them to the benefit and service of someone else, to say you can be more.
Yeah, that's quite insightful, Paul. I think that a lot of leaders probably think that if I micromanage my team, everything's going to be okay, or let me be the dictator and let everyone follow my orders. And that's not really how it works. I think that leaders have the power to influence, but I think that's what Steve Jobs also said, that if you're hiring smart people, let them do the work for you.
Exactly. I can't do all the things in my business that need to be done in the business. So I need to have the humility to say, who's really, really good at this? And it's interesting because when I was involved in the music industry, setting up a band to succeed used to be about your best friends, but now it's going, okay, who's the best in the world? If I really want to succeed, I'm going to have the humility to say, you know what, I need to find the smartest person or the best person at this particular time that believes what I do, because this is a really important step. It's having that match of beliefs and values. because we all know when we're in an environment where we want to show up, then work's easy. It's not work. This isn't work. This is. I know we're talking on an interview, and people say, yeah, well, it's not work, but it isn't, because I'm trying to put an important message into the world at a time when the world actually needs important messages, where we need to learn to perhaps think differently and behave differently. I mean, if you think about all the bosses we've had, is there any boss you particularly remember that you loved that micromanaged you? There probably aren't many, and I understand why people do it. You do need to keep track of things like attendance and the quality of the work. That matters. But I think there's a different way of doing it, and I think inspiring, and I think trusting, and I think engaging with people as human beings and saying, you can be more. There is a light within you that I see. You might not see it, but I see it. Let me help you bring that into the world.
Yeah, that's I absolutely agree with you, Paul. I think it's easy to, lose your way, especially as millennials, right? A lot of millennials that you see now. It's important to have probably one guiding light or a mentor that could help you. I think that would really help them, don't you think?
We all need mentors. We all need mentors and coaches, because we all have blind spots. It's like driving a car. You can't see it all the way around. You need someone to say, "Oh, there's a cyclist on your shoulder. Just be careful," or to see things. It's called the Johari window. It's the things that we don't know, that we can't see, that someone else can see clearly. And then it's about helping people discover that, bring it into their awareness, and go, "Do I like that? Do I like that about the way I am?" And if you do, great. And if you don't, then how do I help you? And how do other people help you do that? So I think, yes, I think mentors and coaches are essential today, because of the demands and because of the rate of change that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And leaders right now, owing to the pandemic, a lot of them were under a lot of stress, and
Yeah.
it was just a point of breakdown for a lot of them. So, in your opinion, and now, we never had a crystal ball to really predict, nobody could predict such a situation, but it did happen. What do you think would be your advice to these leaders, to make sure that they see opportunity even in such adversities? What do you think should they be, building their competencies on?
That's a good question, because every leader is individual. Every leader is at a different stage in their journey. They work in different companies, from the small micro businesses to the large, global multinational corporations. So there's no one set of advice that will apply to everyone. I think the first thing is to preserve cash. If you don't have cash, you don't have a business, and therefore looking at cash has to be the first thing, because that's the lifeblood of a business. And even though I work in developing people, even I recognize if you have no cash, you can't invest in people, because there's no customers to serve, there's no cash coming into the business, so there'll be very soon no people. I think then it's to trust your people. So I run workshops all over the world, and the thing that's really true is that the answer is always in the room if you choose to be open to ask. So the person you least expect, sometimes it might be that the most technical person in the room has the most creative solution, or the most creative person in the room might make a suggestion that you go, actually, that's pretty good. So I would say conversation is the second thing, is to have conversation and understand that conversation is a dance, that it's, the old saying that I'm sure you heard from your mum and dad, we have two ears and one mouth for a reason. Unfortunately, it is so true. But listen as a leader, and ask questions, ask for help from people around you. You hired them because they're smart. So let them be smart. Let them shine their light in the world, because I bet the answer's in the room. And if it's not in the room, it's 1 or 2 phone calls away. I promise you. Because every time, and I've done workshops with 500 people across 5 days, working on really difficult, how do you get young children to eat 5 vegetables a day? That's more difficult in the room than you think. I've done that kind of problem solving, but that is about getting the people to talk to each other and have conversations and have that listen and break down the barriers of, oh, well, we're sales and sales doesn't talk to marketing, or marketing doesn't talk to operations, or operations doesn't talk to logistics. It's like, no, get everyone in the room, because once you do, when people grab hold of the elephant, when they've assembled all the evidence, they'll say, oh, it's an elephant. Right, now we know what to do. Or we know, if we don't know what to do, we can make a best guess at the next step. And every step you take, you will see the next 20 feet in front of you. The worst thing you can do is either stand still or keep doing what you're doing. So have conversations. And then the final thing I'd say is, there's no such thing as failure. Failure is just feedback. It just says it didn't work. And in anticipating that, be comfortable with the consequences of not doing something. And so if this doesn't work, what's the downside? And then mitigate for that as best you can, either by having conversations or by deciding that you're going to move in a slightly different direction. It's difficult because I know you have such a broad audience to sort of be specific and say, well, do this and you'll be fine. That's not true.
Yeah, I think it's so dynamic now, right? I mean, you cannot predict things. It's important to, try and be resilient. And like you said, have conversations, take suggestions from people you might not even consider. And you might just see, what brilliant stuff could come out of that.
Well, isn't it interesting that across history, a lot of the best ideas in one industry have usually come from another industry?
Yeah.
Look at what's come out of the defense industry into the consumer world. Google Maps, that started in the military. So looking across different industries for ideas, how can we use this? This is the way we've always done it. It will be the fastest route to the cemetery, I think. And if I was to add anything, one of the things I talk about is, how do you become a better ancestor to future generations? So how does my behavior, my actions, help someone like you in future when I'm no longer here? How do I create something and work in a way that will support all those young children who are yet to be born? How do I create a world that where I'm treading more lightly on the earth, where we care for each other, where there is more of a safety net for each other, where it is possible to succeed in whatever definition of success that is for you? How do I create that? And I would encourage leaders to start thinking about that, because younger generations, the millennials and the Gen Zs, are seriously thinking about where they want to spend their time. Yes, there might be more money as a salary over here, but this company's trying to do good. This company's trying to solve this particular problem. I think I'll go and work for this company. That makes sense.
It does. It makes a lot of sense. So, I also think about the graduating class, right, of 2020 and now 2021. They would be going through a lot. They would have a lot of competition, perhaps. And you mentioned, millennials, Gen Z, while they are innovating faster and faster, it's very easy to, just get lost in the woods. So, would you have something to tell them? A lot of our listeners might also be people wanting inspiration, looking for inspiration. What would your advice be to this graduating class?
I spent most of my life thinking I couldn't amount to anything. A lot of people told me I couldn't. I'd never be a management consultant. I'd never get a master's degree. I'd never do some of the things that I've done. So the first thing I'd say is don't listen to the people who tell you can't, and go and find people that fuel your fire. Find the others who will fan your flames, because it's the easiest thing in the world to pull someone else down and tell them they can't. We have a negativity bias, and therefore it's easy to jump in and say, yeah, that's right. The world is going to hell in a handcart. We can choose to believe that and be negative. It doesn't mean that you've got to be positive, and that false positivity is like, oh, I'm fine, everything's okay, my business is going great, I haven't got any money in the bank, I'm starving. I'm not advocating that. What I'm saying is go and find the others, because they are looking for you. That's my first piece of advice. The second thing I would say is, whatever your crazy idea is, make it that it's something the world needs. And usually by serving others or solving a big problem, you'll find people will want you anyway. And then the last thing, just do what you're going to say you're going to do. That's the most valuable commodity, is integrity. Don't make promises you can't keep. It's okay to say, no, I can't do that. There are only so many hours in the week. I will do my best. But if you want me to succeed, I can deliver it by then and guarantee it, and it will be an amazing piece of work. But if you want it here, I can't do that. And people are frightened to say that, because they're always worried that there's someone in the background that says, oh, I'll do it, and I'll do it cheaper, and I'll do it for nothing. And it's kind of like, okay, yeah, that's fine. That may happen. Go and find your people and love them. I know that sounds really stupid in one sense, but if you look at all the top coaches in the world, sports coaches, people who've coached people to Olympic medals, amazing, they say, I love my people first. And that doesn't mean romantic. And it doesn't mean mollycoddling them. That means you care about them, and they know you care about them, and they know you have their back. Find the others, because there's nearly 8 billion of us on the planet now. They are out there. We found each other, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's my answer.
Golden words, Paul. I think that really inspired me as well, because
Good.
there's just a lot of hope out there, and sometimes you're demotivated, or sometimes you're having bad days. But as you said, find the people that can really motivate you to keep moving on, no matter what other people say, and just move away from that negativity. I think.
I think the more you give as well, the more it comes back. It may not come back immediately. It may not come back at all. That's okay. But my experience says it does come back, and it comes back in ways that you least expect. And if you use that as a guide, I don't think you'll go far wrong.
Yeah, great. That was really, really amazing, Paul. I just want to ask you one last question before we wrap
Sure.
up, which is, if there is any quote that defines your perspective, maybe on the future of work, or just anything that you abide by, that you stand for, I'd love for you to share that with us.
So there's hundreds of quotes that I love, and obviously as a coach I collect them. But I try to collect ones that are less common in circulation. And one that stands out to me comes from Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Vietnamese monk, and he said, I'm going to read it: "True power comes from within. What we seek, we already have."
That was quite deep. I think that it's been very inspirational, I think, for me as well as I'm sure for our audience, because um, we all are lost at some points, in our
Me
life.
too. That's why I have a coach. That's why I have mentors. So when I'm lost, I've got someone. You remember when your parents used to grab hold of you and go, "No, no, no, don't go over there. Come over here." We all
Exactly.
need that.
Exactly. And I think through this conversation, hopefully, a lot of people would be inspired to go in the right direction, and
I
they'll
hope
have
so.
more confidence to do the things that, they probably have been overthinking about. So, here you are, and just saying that, hey, go for it. Just don't let the negativity really bog you down. So that was great.
Good.
Well, thank you so much, Paul. It was a pleasure. And I really, really enjoyed our conversation. So thank you.
Oh, listen, thank you. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care, Paul.
You too. Bye bye.